Faces of Abortion is the only television program of its kind that shares the powerful, real-life stories of women, men, and families who have suffered through the destruction of abortion. You will be hearing powerful stories from women and men and families throughout the nations. Faces of Abortion touches lives and changes hearts in over 115 nations. You will also be given practical steps on how you can end abortion.
So it just overwhelmed me. And I thought the only way to escape the pain was to take my life.
I had a fear that I wouldn't be able to have my own children.
It brings heartache. It brings hurt.
And I knew they were tearing my baby apart.
I remember the cold feeling of the room.
I remember laying there and I just said to myself that I will never forgive myself for what I'm doing.
I believe that my life was spared that night just so that I could be here right now and say abortion hurts women.
Welcome to Faces of Abortion. I'm your host, Cindy Collins, and I'd like to introduce my co-host, Alan Parker, President of the Justice Foundation, and Clayton Trotter, General Counsel of the Justice Foundation, and our special studio guest, Clint.
Cindy, this week we're going to widen our view of abortion and hear from Jessica about how the abortion of 4 of her siblings affected her, and from Clint about how abortion affects fathers.
That's right, Alan, and now we need to hear Jessica's story and her voice from this generation in her own words.
Hi, my name is Jessica, and abortion hurt my family because there were 4 siblings missing from my family. My mother and my father had 1 abortion together right after I was born. As I think about how that abortion affected each of my parents, I can see that it was very hurtful. When I was very small, my mother would lose her temper sometimes and get angry and put a lot of pressure on me, and it was very scary to me as a small child, and I still remember those times. But my mother went and got her healing from abortion, and I remember seeing a change in her, that she stopped being that way. Before, maybe she was what you would consider unfit to be a mother, but she was still my mother, and I needed her. And I got to witness the change in her, and she became what I needed. I always needed her, and she became a nurturer to me, and a mother, and my best friend, and I can see how that change occurred in her. I also needed my father, and I could see that he was very hurt, and after that abortion, he became very unable to communicate with the children that he did have, with me and my sisters. He was always very distant from us, and it always seemed like he was just trying to escape being our father, like he couldn't handle it. And I really tried to make him be my father. One time I even asked him, Daddy, do you approve of my boyfriend? And he just tried to escape, and he went and started a conversation with the dog instead, because he just couldn't be my father. And I really tried to make him for a long time, but I feel that a lot of his hurt was connected to that abortion, and in a way I lost my father to abortion. That was a loss that I could definitely see, because I see my father. He's still here. He's in body form. I know what he looks like and what a smile looks like. But maybe that wasn't even the biggest loss, because my siblings, I never saw them. I have no idea what they looked like or what their role would be in my family. I know what I missed from my dad, but I have no idea what it would be like to have 4 other siblings. And I know that as I was growing up, the dynamic felt incomplete in my family. And I had my sisters, my younger sisters, and I loved them, but it always felt like maybe there was somebody else who should be taking care of me or watching out for me, and there was no one else for me to take care of. I had my 2 younger sisters, but it was still an incomplete family. And that was even something that I was unable to articulate for many years, but there was still an emptiness. Even though I didn't know what it would be like with them, I still knew that there was an emptiness in my family, and now I can recognize that. I feel that I even missed a responsibility, something to help me grow, to look out for my siblings because they weren't here. I needed them too, just like I needed my mother and father. I needed them and they're gone. But I feel that I'm fulfilling part of my responsibility as a sibling here, to be a voice for them because they can't be a voice now, to say that my family was missing their contributions, and not only my family, but our community and our nation. And my family was not the only incomplete family, that there are families everywhere that are missing their children, and we're all missing them, and a part of us is all missing because we're missing them from abortion. And I feel that I'm being their voice to say that abortion is an injustice not only to them but to us because we're missing them.
You've just heard Jessica's story of how abortion has affected her as a sibling of an aborted child, of a sibling of 4 aborted children. And possibly you may be a young person that's watching Faces of Abortion today, and you've felt that sense of loss, of loneliness, as though there was somebody that was in your life and your parents may have even had an abortion. You may need someone to talk to. We want to encourage you to call our 24-hour helpline right now. You may also be a father or a mother, like Jessica's father and mother, who may need to talk to somebody, and they're seeing those same things exhibited in their children and not knowing that it is actually the abortion that they had that is causing the distress in their own child. I was so thankful to hear Jessica be a bold voice for this generation of how abortion has affected this generation.
Well, you know, one of the things that, as I listened to her testimony, I couldn't help but think of the fact that this nation has aborted 1/3 of a generation. Abortion is the most common surgical procedure in America. Some 48 to 50 million babies. And maiming and destroying relationships between 48 or 50 million men and 48 or 50 million women. I mean, the enormous loss. I mean, it's staggering when you really think about the tremendous loss to our nation, which is exhibited individually, obviously, in a testimony like hers.
That's right. The lie of abortion is that it's a private decision that only affects you. You make it alone, 20 minutes and it'll be over, and yet it doesn't just affect the woman. It affects the man who is the father of the child. It affects siblings. And this story also shows that even in a marriage there can be abortions, and people think of it as just something teenage girls get,